Hello, am I audible? Hello, loud enough? Okay. I'm muted again.
Good morning, dear participants. Welcome to day 13 of the Physical Education and Community Coaches Program. Today's topic will be safe environment to protect and safeguard children, first aid. Ladies and gentlemen, we are fortunate to have with us for the first batch and for the first period, Dr. George Matthew, who is Associate Professor, Psi LNCP Trivandrum, with us. We should consider ourselves lucky. He is a teacher whom I have high regards and have a lot of respect for him. He happened to be, I have worked with him for more than 20 years. A little bit about our speaker for today morning. Dr. George Matthew had 32 years experience in teaching. He also formerly was a faculty in Christ Medical College, Vellore. As a professional qualification is MBBS, Diploma in Physical and Medical Rehabilitation, also a Diploma of National Boards. He also did his MPhil in Clinical Epidemiology, and he also had a higher training in sports medicines and biomechanics from United States of America. Thank you so much, sir, for your presence today morning. May I hand over the mic to our presenter for the first bit, Dr. George Matthew, sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Burrell. I thank the organizers and the participants for today's opportunity to speak. This topic I'm going to deal with today is safety. Safety could mean safe environment, facilities, or safety in instructions, safety in supervision. So the topic is safe environment to protect and safeguard children and first aid. Now, at the outset, I must explain what is meant by liability and negligence. See, all teachers or all community coaches are having a legal liability, and they are liable to be pulled up for negligence. So what is liability? Liability is the responsibility to perform one's duty. So when you are expected to do it, you have to do it with the utmost care and skill. If you don't do it, it becomes negligence. Liability requires knowledge. Knowledge not just about the subject, you have to know about the safety aspects plus the law of the country. Because you cannot be on the wrong side of the law, which would mean that you are could be liable to be pulled up for a violation of the law. Now, what is negligence? Negligence is the failure to provide appropriate care that is possible from your side based on your professional training. So if you don't do something which you are expected to do, that is negligence. So which are the different areas of negligence that can occur in sport? One is negligence in providing appropriate facilities. Second is negligence in providing appropriate equipment or being negligent in providing instructions or negligent in supervision. Any of these areas could land the teacher or the community coach in trouble because these professions, physical education or coach professions, are having lots of responsibilities and they have to be handled ethically. If not, the people are liable to be taken to court for a litigation. Injuries in youngsters are very dangerous because they are in the growing age. In the growing age, the body is still not completely matured. Physiological processes, the growth processes are all halfway through. Until they are complete, they are not adults, and the child is not exactly like an adult human being. Children have different physiology and anatomy in certain areas, especially the growing bones. So they have to be very carefully handled. You have to protect them and prevent them from getting any sort of injuries which will jeopardize their growth fully and would also probably damage their career. Now, there are different areas in which sports can be involved in this area of child protection. One is safety in sports, where specifically prevention of injuries during falls or during impact or the impact with a projectile, a ball, a shot, a hammer, something hitting a person, these all have to be prevented. Plus, when water sports is involved, swimming is involved to prevent accidents in the pool. Drowning prevention is very important. Plus, equipment that are used for mobility, like bicycle safety. Bicycle safety is paramount because it is an object which can injure others also, not just the participant. In some sports, concussions can occur, and the protective equipment required for the particular sport have to be worn by the children, which the teacher or the coach must take adequate care in during the preparation for the game. Safety in sports cannot be taken for granted. Unless you prepare for safety, you will not be ready to handle any kind of accident or provide first aid. You have to, in fact, anticipate something going wrong. You have to be a pessimist as a teacher. You have to be a pessimist. That means you really expect something wrong to happen during your class, which is the best way to be prepared for any sort of emergency on the field. Or even off the field, a teacher in a school is actually uh, temporarily a foster parent who takes care of the child while the child is in school. So the teacher has to be very, very careful. Children have to be trained to play. As they are growing, their motor age will also change, and according to their ability, they have to be given the appropriate sport. Also, we must remember Most of the classes in schools and colleges are group classes where they are expected to do all the activities which are instructed by the teacher to a big group. So children should be very carefully handled. They cannot take all the activities given to a big group. Some of them cannot take. So the training may have to be individualized. So group them according to their ability. That is a much safer way. You can now decide who are the very skillful or very talented physically fit individuals who can take very high loads or very difficult motor skills to be performed. Otherwise, the others have to be given very beginner's skills. I need not tell you about the importance of warm-ups, some stretches. They are all part of training that you are giving. You are already knowing about it. So I will not linger on this slide anymore. Hydration is important because we are living in a very hot country which has a summer which is a sweltering heat with a lot of humidity and water loss occurring quite fast. Hydration is important. Children have to take enough water. One thing that the teacher must remember, the amount of water that the child can carry to school is limited, maybe half a liter, and the half a liter may not be enough for a child if the child is playing in school. So the school must provide drinking water for the children, which would prompt them to come and refill the bottles and take water to the classes and drink as far as possible as frequently that the teacher permits. Mandatory water breaks have to be given, which is sometimes disruptive for the class, but has to be ensured. Appropriate sports gear, I need not specify what is required for that. Already you know those things. Concussion. So this slide I used to talk about concussion. What is concussion? Concussion, of course, from the picture you realize it is something related to the head and to the brain. Concussion is a head injury, usually without any external injury, no bleeding, nothing. It is just a blunt injury, which leads to a temporary dysfunction of the brain. Brain will have a temporary dysfunction. The person usually instantaneously loses consciousness and recovers it in a matter of minutes. The person may have amnesia, loss of memory. The person may lose what you call short-term memory, what he had for breakfast or what he had on the previous day. The person will sometimes start vomiting. The person will start feeling unbalanced, will feel dizzy. These are all signs of temporary dysfunction of the brain. And most importantly, all these people would have headache. So headache as a sign is not to be ignored. A person who's had a head injury and having persistent headache even after a day or two is having a concussion which does not heal. So the principle that you have to remember is a child having headache should not take part in a physical education class without a medical clearance. Sometimes it takes a longer time of a week or more, and that is a very serious concussion which has been ignored. These people should never be allowed to play, they should not be allowed to play even if you're not on the field supervising them. So you make sure that they are sitting in the class and other teachers to be informed that this child should not be allowed to go out and play. The parents to be summoned and asked to produce a medical certificate before he or she is deemed to be fit to play. So headache is the most dangerous sign that you can easily remember that indicates that the concussion is not healed. Along with headache, there are problems like vomiting, nausea, unbalance, some loss of memory. Some of them have double vision. They see double. These are all seen within a day. And for the first 24 hours after a concussion, the persons have to be observed. Rest is very important for any activity, even that doesn't produce any damage or it doesn't produce severe fatigue. Sleep is important. Rest and sleep are equally important to training. I would put the contributions as 50% for training, 50% for sleep and rest. Unless the child takes sleep enough rest and gets enough sleep, they will not recover. You must also remember that they have a workload related to their academics, so they would be probably staying up to take up their homework or prepare assignments or prepare for the examinations that will bite eat into their rest sleeping period. Playground safety, which is kind of topic which is very familiar to you, is very important. I will not prolong this slide long. Drowning safety. This I shall tell you with the CPR what is to be done in a near drowning case. Like in all sports, the pool safety is very important. You should not allow any horseplay to occur in the pool, and no child to be allowed to enter the pool without supervision. The pool gate must be kept locked. Nobody should enter the pool area, not even on the deck, without your presence. Play by the rules and don't play when injured. This is the most important reason for injuries not healing. That is re-injury occurring because the original injury has not healed. The original injury will take its own time, which we cannot cut down by any kind of medication in any system of medicine. Healing is natural, and the natural healing will definitely be helped by giving appropriate rest. Coach safety and protection, yes. You know how to take care of yourself, but are you ready to take care of yourself or protect yourself from any legal entangles? You should not be entangled any court case because touching a child can be inappropriate, which can be deemed as child sexual abuse. Don't touch children unnecessarily. And only when there is a real need for first aid should you provide first aid when you may have to touch the child in certain areas which are considered inappropriate. Do not unnecessarily touch children in areas which are considered inappropriate by their parents or by any other adult. So when you need to support them, we need to spot them for some training. You make sure that you are doing that with utmost care and in the presence of other children or other adults. If possible, if you can find a teacher of the same gender as that of the child for a sport where there is a lot of physical contact between teacher and the student, that is going to be the best thing that you can do for your career. People are becoming very conscious about the rights of children. Do not uh, rub on the wrong side of the law. It has to be very carefully. Child abuse. So what are the types of abuse? Whenever we think about abuse, we think about only physical abuse. Abuse can be of three or four types. One type is physical abuse. You give punishment. Never give punishment for some indiscipline. No physical punishments to be given. Sexual abuse is the second type of abuse. The third one is emotional abuse. You abuse them by scolding them or by neglecting them, by not giving them chances to play, by always prodding them to play and highlighting physical inabilities. So these are all part of the emotional abuse, which also should not be done. Injury prevention, first aid, where we have to look at what is the correct method. See, whenever there is first aid to be administered, you must remember that there is only one correct method. All other methods are wrong. So the correct method has to be followed, or else you will end up giving wrong first aid, which will produce sometimes damage. Now I'll come back to this slide a little later. First, let us look at CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So whenever a child falls on the ground unresponsive, that means there is no response. You do not know whether the person is unconscious. You do not know whether that person's heart and lungs have stopped working. So the first thing to do before you administer cardiopulmonary resuscitation or CPR is to check for response. You must make sure that the person is really unconscious. How do you check for response? You cannot shake a child who has fallen to the ground. You cannot shake him vigorously, which will produce injuries. So the best way is, as the picture shows, tap on the shoulder, slap on the shoulder, which will wake up a child who is fainted or is just lying down with a lot of fatigue. But an unconscious person will not wake up with this slapping on the shoulder. and you slap on the shoulder and try to call him if you know his name, or some other way you try to arouse him. If he is not arousable, you can surmise that his person is unconscious. And before you administer CPR, make sure that his respiration and heartbeat are not working. So, how do you first thing before you check is to open the airway. To open the airway, make sure that the chin is lifted up. Put two fingers under the chin, the other hand on the forehead. As in the second picture, lift the chin, and that will open the airway, the pathway from the nose to the lungs. And then check for breathing. Checking for breathing is by looking at the chest for movements, listening to the air movements in and out of the nose, and feeling the air from the exhaled air coming from the nose or mouth hitting the cheek. So you can actually see, sense by touch, and hear air movements. If it is not there, that means the person is not breathing. How do you administer artificial breathing? You have to pinch the nostrils closed at the same time with the other hand lifting the chin to keep the airway open. And then open your mouth, take a deep breath, and seal again. So the exhalation that required a rounded lip, like whistling, it is not a whoo, it's not blowing. The exhalation movement required for CPR is a ha rather than a whoo. You have to keep your lips open and keep your lips open and seal your lips around the lips of the individual, and then exhale hard, forcefully into the person's lungs. And this should last 1 second. And if after giving two rescue breaths, you check for heartbeat. It is very difficult to check for heartbeat by keeping your hand on the chest. The best thing is to do is to check for the pulse on the neck. And when you have your fingers, two fingers on the neck, the carotid artery, one of the biggest arteries of the body, will have a very definite pulse if the person's heart is beating. So you can try practicing on yourself on one side of your neck. You can feel the carotid pulse. And if the carotid pulse is not felt, you can check on the other side and still not palpable, not felt, then you can do the CP, the compression, the CP part, the C part of the CPR, the cardiac compression. You compress with the two hands, one hand locked over the other, kept over the center of the lower part of the sternum, and pressed hard. About 100 compressions per minute should be the rate. You press hard for about 4 to 5 centimeters downward with each press. It is tiring. It is not easy to press for the actual CPR. And the rate is 100 compressions per minute. But after 30 compressions, you stop the CPR to give two rescue breaths, the same procedure that you saw on the previous slide. So 30 heartbeats, 30 cardiac compressions, and two artificial breaths. This is what is to be done. And when we come back to this, when the person has been rescued from near drowning, what is to be done? The person was rescued from the pool or from the lake, from a near drowning situation. When the person is found to have no breathing or heartbeats, CPR has to be done. And if the heartbeat returns, the person would now be shifted to a recovery position, which will be mentioned in the next slide. Now, what is to be done for fits? Fits again is a process which is kind of automatic once it has been triggered. You cannot stop fits. Once it has started, you cannot stop fits unless medication is given. This will be given in hospitals. If the fits are prolonged or short-term fits, medicines are not administered to stop the fits. And when a person is having fits, do not put anything into the mouth, do not stuff anything into his fisted, curled hands. Just put him in the recovery position, which you'll see in the very next slide. And when the person is having bleeding nose, the first aid, there is, of course, as I told you earlier, there is only one procedure which is correct. All of the procedures are wrong. When a person is having bleeding nose, ask the person to lean forward, pinch the nostrils, keep the nostrils closed by pinching, lean forward, open the mouth and breathe through the mouth, and keep the nostrils pinched for about 3 to 4 minutes, after which usually the bleeding stops. If the bleeding doesn't stop, you can repeat the procedure, but still if it is continuing, he requires medical help, so he has to be shifted. But what is to be done for a person who is unconscious on the ground, unresponsive, but still bleeding? What do? Do you push him up and make him into take up the sitting position and press his uh, nostrils? No. A person who's bleeding and unconscious is having a head injury, you shift into hospital. First aid for musculoskeletal injuries, you know, it is known by the acronym RISE, rest, ice, compression, and elevation. And how to control bleeding? You apply direct pressure with some cloth between. You should not touch the blood of the child. Any fluid coming out of the child's body should not be coming into contact with your body. Take some clean cloth and press hard on the bleeding area, and you can also elevate the area to reduce blood flow to that area. For an unconscious patient, as you know, you evaluate for CPR before you try to figure out why unconscious has not occurred. Unconsciousness has occurred. Now to this recovery process. It's not process, it's a recovery position. The person is breathing, a person is having a heartbeat, but he requires to lie down. Which is the best position to keep him in? The best position is this one, where you put him on his side. So any saliva or vomit that comes out will flow out, it will not flow into his airway. So a person who is not fully conscious or who is feeling faint, who is not responding well but breathing and having a heartbeat, doesn't require a CPR, put him in the recovery position. You start like this, hold his hands on the other side and the leg on the other side, pull him towards you and keep him on the side. This is the recovery position. This is the position to keep a patient in after he is having fits or he is recovered from any drowning situation. Now, preparation to be a good coach is as important as being a good player. A coach will only be guiding many aspects because all the coaches cannot duplicate all the movements that the persons who are going to be instructed are going to do. So with instructions, a lot of vocal instruction by verbal instructions, the coach can transfer the knowledge or the skill that the person is required to do. There are environmental hazards which can be damaging to the child. You have to be very careful about that. Heat can definitely damage a child's physiology. The person will fatigue very fast, the person can collapse, the child can collapse, and then you become very tense and you rush the person to hospital. Can you prevent heat injuries? Yes. You can prevent heat injuries by taking the appropriate clothing to be worn to the field. That means you cannot wear very thick clothing or a very dark clothing to wear on a very hot day. This is known to most people. As you look at the different sports, you can find the jerseys, the sportswear are of different design and are of different fabric. This is to ensure that sweating does occur and the evaporation does occur. You must always provide facility for the sweat to evaporate. That means the person who's evaporating must rest under a fan, or he must find some places where some of the breeze or wind is available, which can cool him down. Evaporation will happen only when there is wind or air movement, or the person will just dribble the trickles of sweat will flow down his face and chest and body and be wasted. If sweating has to be useful to cool the body, the sweat has to evaporate. This is a very important message I want to give you. If the sweat does not evaporate, the body will not cool. And so provide facilities for the sweat to evaporate. So a fan in a recovery room, or staying outdoors when there is breeze and wind, or light, slow running, which will produce a wind. That can help the person to cool down very quickly. So, of course, a limbering down is very important. This can help the body to cool down. There are psychological support avenues available for the coach to intervene in the child's development, because a physical education teacher is a very important person in the school. And if the teacher recognizes this role, this teacher can bring up children who learn to be very good citizens of the country. And that, therefore, the teacher plays a very big role in the personality building of this athlete, this child athlete. To summarize, to be not negligent, to be liable for your actions, you must know about your sport that you're teaching, about the facilities in terms of playground and equipment, and also safety on and off the field. you prepare the child to play. That means that simple motor skills, which will become more and more complex. Some acquiring faster the motor skill required for complex sport. Never neglect time for sport allotted for a particular class. Find time to warm up and cool down your child athlete. Have enough hydration available to the child. Provide good drinking points in the school. You talk to the school management to provide drinking water, preferably mineral water in these environment.
Uh, Thank you so much, sir. This is a time to check on the question part. So there are a few questions. There's a slight technical problem. Anyhow, we'll be continuing with the question and answer session. Before I give the mic back to sir, there's one question from Chaudhuri Das. He asks, how can we avoid injury of student in the playground? Sir, please.
So this question about preventing injury on the field can be considered under 3-4 headings. Number one, you must have appropriate playground safety measures. The playground must be safe to play. That also includes the swimming pool. If the safety measures of the playground have not been taken into account, the children can have injuries. So ensure that the playground is safe, including the ground conditions, the surrounding, for example, basketball. What about the cage we are playing? Are the nets safe? Are there enough, what do you call, padding given to all these posts where the child can ram into? So that is important. Second is equipment safety. Equipment safety, lots of things. Uh, what about the equipment that you give the child to play? Is it in a good condition, or is it damaged one that nobody would be playing with? So field safety, equipment safety. These are the two areas. The third area is your instruction. If you instruct properly from the beginning, to avoid injuries, that itself will set a very good pattern. The child will realize that this physical education class is not fooling around. It has to be, because all games have rules. And the rules have to be respected and followed. And the teacher shows the person to follow the rules, and that is in fact a big training for them to build a personality as a law-abiding citizen. And number 4, you are not instructing, but you are supervising. You are allowing them to play. There are no instructions, but you are there on the ground. And here also supervision is very important, because you can avoid fights, you can avoid horseplay, you can avoid rough game, you can avoid too many people playing at the same time. So the 4 areas that I have just mentioned are the different points which can be expanded according to the situation in which you are working. Field playground safety, equipment safety, the proper instructions, and proper supervision. This is a question from Mr. Radhe Shyam Yadav. What is the difference between heart rate and pulse rate? In a normal individual, heart rate and pulse rate are the same. When the heart rate and pulse rate are different, that is an abnormal condition. That person is having some disease. It will never happen in athletes who have gone through a medical examination before coming in for playing a sport. So in a hospital, you'll find situations where the heart rate and pulse rate are different. But for a normal individual who is playing a game in school, the heart rate and the pulse rate are the same. Question from Ms. Sridevi Jagdale. If before competition player is suffering an injury, suppose recovery is taking maximum time, how has to deal with the situation? That is a very general question, very difficult to answer. It all depends on what kind of injury has occurred, what the severity of injury is. What the severity of the injury is. So the person's injury has to be diagnosed by a doctor. So you need to look at what the diagnosis is and what the hospital report is. Then only you can say what has happened to this injury and how to give an appropriate activity for the child while he or she is recovering. Next question from Mr. Shailendra Rawat. How much time before competition an athlete can take glucose for better performance? I do not recommend glucose for better performance. The body does not require glucose. The body will make its own glucose. For that, you have to give starch-based foods. That is what we all eat. Glucose is added for taste, only for taste. When you eat chapatis, you are giving starch to the body will digest it and make glucose. Instead, if you give glucose powder, the body's natural mechanism of detecting all this goes haywire, and it will only impede the performance. So glucose is not to be given. Take a proper diet. Eat your rotis, your chapatis, or whatever, your dosha, whatever you want to eat. All are carbohydrate foods, and that is what is required for athletes. There's another question Anil Pisal has asked, is there any harm to the students who, when sweat of the body dries on the body? Definitely not. It has to dry, then only the body will be cool. So you allow the body to dry by cool by drying. That means wind. Allow wind to blow. Sit under a fan. That is the best way to cool. Students play in physical education classes and get very much sweaty. They just go sit for the next class with some same sweaty body. Is there any harm? Yes, the harm is that the body doesn't cool. Many classrooms do not have fans or enough ventilation. So the body does not cool. So sweating indicates that the body is not cooling, and that is not good for the boy. The boy will be very fatigued, and by evening, the boy who returns from school will look very shabby, tired, and not ready to play in the evening with his friends. So make sure that the classes which are going to happen immediately after a physical education class are in properly ventilated rooms with a lot of ceiling fans or air conditioning to allow body cooling. What is the ideal first aid for sportsmen? First aid box. No, first aid boxes for sportsmen, I don't think are specifically available. What I told you, it is basically the process, the procedure that is important. What is required in a box are dressing materials for stopping bleeding, tapes to stick the bandages, bandaging cloth, scissors to cut the bandage. This is all that is required. The other advanced things that are available in an ambulance is not required for first aid box in a school or a college. Question from Mr. Pratnesh. Sometimes parents know what has happened with the child, in school, but they come and give the blame to the teacher, basically sports teacher, but they don't know what has happened. There is a mistake, the child deliberately blame the teacher. Okay, so they're trying to blame the teacher when the child was at fault. Okay, this is a problem which has to be very delicately handled. Almost all parents would take an opportunity to criticize criticize the teachers because they'll always be on the child's side. So whenever a thing occurs, so first thing is to prevent such happenings. If a child is not following your instructions, the person is best left out from the class, and the parents be informed earlier itself. Earlier instances would lead to your telling the parent that this person is very rebellious, this child is not following instructions, and it's very difficult to take physical education classes. And for such people, you don't give any contact games. If the person is liable to play a rough game, don't take the blame on you. And if possible, if you find a rough game happening, take your mobile phone and shoot the video so you can show what is happening. Cool down is necessary after every session, and what's effect if you don't do. Cool down is basically doing what it is supposed to do as the name indicates. The verbatim what you do is you have to cool down. The most important thing that stops our body from working efficiently is heat, unless we are in a cold climate. So if you reduce heat by cooling down, it also slows down the heart rate, it slows down the metabolism and allows the body to recover. The next question from Mr. Anil, what are ways to avoid accidents on grounds? Which I have actually handled as the first question. How can a player hydrate himself before, during and after the match? This is question is very important, but unfortunately I will not be able to provide an exact answer. They must take a proper meal. Along with that, they must drink at least 1 glass of water. That is number one. And you give drinks intervals more than what is given in a professional match. And they should take sips of water. They should not gulp down a lot of water. If they take sips of water, their body will be absorbing this water. And the drinking process can continue after the physical education class. That means the teachers must allow those who are sitting in their classes to drink water during their theory classes. Now, the next question, please explain sprain and strain injury management. I can give you only the indication that is given as first aid. It is RICE, rest, ice, compression and elevation. Beyond that, it has to be decided by a medical team what is to be done for the ligament injury or the muscle injury. By from Manju Rajput has asked, we have only hard surface playground in our school. What type of activity you suggest for children of primary section? So a hard playground with the formal, to run with formal shoes on hard playground, I understand is very, very difficult. I hope that they have at least 1 day of wearing the sports shoe, and then you can give them running. That provided the shoe has enough of sole softness. You can give a lot of ball games where you can ask them to kick around the ball. Even though it's not a game, you can just give them enough balls. And so many of them kick it around. So you don't have to make them play football. You give lots of balls to play, give lots of footballs, or you can give the same plastic balls which are available in all the fancy shops, which are very light and which will not produce injuries to children. So use non-professional sports equipment for these children.
Next question by Mr. Patil. Sushant Patil, good morning. How to manage hairline practices? You mean hairline fractures? I'm not sure. Hairline fractures are usually stress fractures which will heal by itself, but it has to be first diagnosed as a hairline fracture. So take the person to a doctor and then decide on what is to be. What is the role of myofascial release by foam rolling in preventing injury? That I would say it should not be done in all areas. It is to be done in areas where there is an indication to do it. So follow the instructions of a physiotherapist and he will manually do the myofascial release and follow up with self-exercises on the foam rollers. From Ms. Aparna, how to give treatment to hamstrings. Again, it's a muscle injury. You give the first aid and after that take the person to the doctor. What types of first aid should we adopt in school? Anything that can be problematic in school, like a bleeding nose for first aid, or a fits, first aid for bleeding, which I already addressed. I have a next question I have answered from Mr. Rashmi. Students come in the morning with headaches and stomach ache. How to deal with students? Most of the children do not get enough sleep. They are doing their homework and staying up to see all sorts of programs, playing with their mobile phones, with their parents' mobile phones, and they don't get enough sleep. So talk to the parent and ensure that the person is having adequate sleep. Second thing, headaches and stomach aches are psychological in many cases. The person does not like school. The child does not like school. So you have to make the school interesting for the child, and physical education period is the best period to make school life interesting. If no child will be disliking child playing here. So you should actually make physical education very enjoyable, and so the child will actually would want to come to school. So don't be a very disciplinarian teacher. Be a very friendly, loving person for small children. Of course, they will learn to attach to you and find it a good opportunity to come and interact with you, and therefore will not have headaches and stomach ache if they are psychological. How to get certified in first aid? Contact your nearest Red Cross society. Every state has a Red Cross society. They will have courses for first aid. First aid for chest injury, sudden strike to chest is dangerous. Sometimes it can stop the heart. Sometimes it can stop breathing. That is the lower part of the chest when the suppose a football impact occurs, the person can stop breathing and find it difficult to breathe for some time. This is usually a condition which settles within a couple of minutes. You can reassure the person, tell him that he or she is all right, and make the person sometimes squat on the floor. The person might recover, and try to give a breathing pattern where they breathe in and breathe out for a longer period. So a longer expiration phase will help the breathing problem. If this does not settle in 2-3 minutes, the person has to go to hospital. RISE, how to help our health. This is only for injuries. Is it the acronym RISE you're talking about? I don't know. How can we identify children who are abused and neglected? Physical abuse will always be evident with marks on the different parts of the body. If you look at abuse or the bruises on the body, bruises sometimes a black eye, bruises on their face, on the chin. Look at their undress them safely. Of course, don't undress a child of the opposite gender without the presence of a teacher of that gender. And see they are having marks of abuse. And if they are abused, sometimes they be sexually abused. You should not tackle this subject at all. They need to go to a counselor. They need to go to the police. They need to go to the Child Protection Council. So you can sound the nearest police station that you suspect of this. They will follow it up as with this special secret, special branch police who will do secret investigation. Give short water break up to 30 minutes is good in vigorous activity of game. It's good for hydration, but it can affect activity. No, it cannot affect activity. That's why I told you, you cut it down to 15 minutes, have the break every 15 minutes so they can take sips of water rather than gulps of water. How can we cure typical spine injury on the ground? Of course, you can't prevent it. You cannot cure it. You can only transport the child to a hospital with the utmost care. I don't have time to explain the transportation procedure. Shin splints are problems in the shin area, which occur primarily due to running a lot when the person is not prepared for activity. So the initial program should be tailored to the physical abilities of the child. The person has not done any physical activity would have shin splints. So it's a beginner's injury. So if you tailor the training, you can avoid this. Or correct this. How do you manage contusion injury? Contusion is a crush injury. You put ice for about 10-15 minutes and the bleeding will stop and then the recovery is automatic. You don't have to do anything else. A contusion will recover. Like suppose you crush your nail, that is a contusion of the nail. And if it doesn't get infected, it will heal automatically. But so inner damages like the muscle contusion usually don't get infected. So you apply ice and keep the muscle stretched so that it doesn't become tight. So keep the muscle stretched for the first 24-48 hours and then the person recovery will be automatic. How to make an injured player play for the completion of the competition? I will not answer that question. That depends on the injury, the seriousness of the injury, which can be assessed by the medical team on the field side. Is it good to take an energy drink? No. Energy drinks have caffeine. They are stimulants. They are not to be given. Definitely not for children. Lemon water, yes. Lemonade is very good. It should not be very concentrated. Is it good to take an energy drink? Same thing. How to analyze the injuries, first aid, resort. You cannot resolve any of them. First aid is the injury. Sorry, first aid is the procedure before proper medical care is available. So when you are in doubt, take the person to a hospital. That is the answer to the question. You cannot decide whether the person has recovered or not. It is only something that you do before proper medical intervention is available. If a teacher has done everything right during training, still a child gets injured, parents blame all that on a coach. What should a coach do? What are the rights of the coach during the situation? It all depends on your reputation as a coach. If you bring up a reputation that you are a very tough, cruel coach who abuses children by shouting at them or physically punishing them, then these kind of complaints can be very difficult to unprove or whatever to what I call to get out of this very finicky situation. You make sure that you're a very loving coach. You are very affectionate, but very stern. You should be very polite, but stern. And that way, the student will learn that this sir means business. You can't fool around, but if you are not fooling around, this teacher is a very nice person. So if you have a reputation as a very good coach, then such cannot be, complaints cannot be actually proven by the complainant, the parent. If the college, the school can afford to have CCTVs around the playgrounds, that would always help. Common shoulder injuries, very difficult to tackle at this point, very difficult to address in this. How ligament injury be prevented? That depends on the condition of your shoes, condition of the ground. The ground has to be level. There should not be stones and gravel, which will allow the person to twist his ankle. So any abnormal movement will produce ligament injury. So playing conditions are very important. And no fooling around, no horse play. So अपने हॉस्पिटल ले जाने का बताया, फिर रिकवरी को बताया, कुछ समझ नहीं आया. नहीं, now I'm talking about a recovery position. Recovery position is the position where a person has to be kept till help arrives or till he recovers. A person who is not fully conscious, person who is very fatigued after a long run, should not be left on his back like this. He should be turned to the side. That is the recovery position. So if he is breathing and his heart is beating, he need not be kept like this for CPR or anything. He does not require CPR. He needs to be turned to the side. That is the recovery position. Till he gets up or till an ambulance arrives. Is it okay to go in an air-conditioned classroom after physical education class? Yes. It will help them to cool down very fast. But it should not be low. The temperature should not be very low. I would put it around 22 degrees. ATP is the energy currency of the body. Whatever money you have, your body is like a coin-operated phone. Okay? Even if you have 2,000 rupee note, you cannot stuff the 2,000 rupee note into the phone and make a phone call. For that, you require a 1 rupee coin. For that, you have to make 2,000 rupees into 2,000 coins. Similarly, the body also has a lot of energy stored in terms of carbohydrate and fat. That is converted to coins, which all the cells will use. So the coins are the ATP. The food that you eat are the notes. If the child has diabetes, should we allow the child to do vigorous activity? That is a very pertinent question, but that takes a long time to answer it. I would ask you to ask for a medical certificate from the doctor who's. around the degree or about the intensity of the training if possible. So take the decision, take the advice from the doctor. Don't take a decision yourself. But the first aid to be good to the student who got fracture, first aid is not, kit is not available. A fracture has to be, if possible, splinted. If the fracture is here in the forearm, the splinting should uh, immobilize the lower joint and the upper joint. So there are, from this bone, there is an upper joint and a lower joint. So these two should be kept immobile with a splint. You can even take a rolled up newspaper. For children, their hands are not very long. You can use a rolled up newspapers as splints and take them to hospital. That is the only thing you can do. Can we use CPR without training? No, no. CPR cannot be given without training. You take a first aid certificate from the Red Cross Society. What things is good for energy to get energy between the match? The best thing is food. Eat bananas. Bananas are very good. Ripe bananas taken within 10 minutes. Very good, very good. Don't take protein or fat much. Take carbohydrates. You can take lemon juice. You can take bananas. You can take dates. Don't give glucose powder. How much first aid items are required in first aid box in school? Only thing that you can take, as I told you earlier, is to control bleeding. Dressing materials to stop bleeding. You can have gloves to protect the first aid provider. Asthma student, what to do by fainted. Oh, that is a pretty difficult situation. This person has to be taken to hospital. An asthma patient fainting should not be kept in the school. We don't want to abuse or harsh, but then how to bring the seriousness of the situation. That is a very difficult psychological skill that you have to practice. You have to train yourself to be very stern, but at the same time very loving. That you do things with a kind of voice that makes you look very calm and peaceful. But the moment you see some kind of mischief, you what do you call, take them out of the group, give them a punishment by not involving them in, but don't give a punishment that will physically harm them. So take them out of the fun games. Fun games are the ones that they enjoy the most. There are lots of games that you know, which every child would enjoy. And take this child out of it for one instance. You take it. But after that, you talk to them. They may have some behavioral problems. If they are repeating the process, get the parent to the school and talk to them. Joint dislocation, no, don't give any first aid. No first aid for dislocation. They have to be handled in the hospital. Sometimes students get attention, they act like fainted, how to find fake and genuine. I'm sorry, I cannot help you with that. If the same person just repeat it, they need to come with a medical cert. Otherwise, they cannot be allowed to participate. So if they are repeatedly fainting, this person has to be taken to hospital, and the doctor would definitely say what the problem is. But if it is only once that a child has fainted, you cannot find fault. A child repeatedly fainting needs to be, the child could be having a problem, you know, could be having heart disease, could be having diabetes, could be having intolerance to heat. You should find out what is the problem. Or having a psychological problem like hysteria, where they are unable to take the stress of the school and at the home, and then they find some opportunity to fall unconscious, which they are not totally managing it, like not totally failing. It is their brain that is responding by giving them an escape. How to identify with a sprain or fracture? Difficult. You take them to hospital. How to reduce overexcitement from children? Yes, overexcitement is part of physical education. So you give them a lot of games which allow them to bring out their physical energy on the field without hitting each other. That's what I told earlier as an example. Whenever you think about a ball game, you think about one ball and 22 players, like football. Give them 10 footballs and let them play. They're just dribbling, kicking. So that's a lot of fun. Later, you can let them graduate to different levels and come up with their skills, which they can show in a proper game. So don't think about proper standard games. Think out of the box. Use your creativity to design new games. Right on the spot, you can decide about new game. So let most people participate. Don't buy lots of football to the school. Buy lightweight balls, colorful balls. The stress for physical education in primary school is to make them active, not to let them play. A student was injured and later he recovers. Do we have time, Dr. Guru? Have I over exceeded my? Shall I continue? A student was injured and later he recovers. He wants to resume training. So, what are the points to check? What kind of injury? I am not sure with this. But if there has been an injury which is seen by a doctor, you ask for a medical certificate about his recovery. And the certificate would definitely say what amount of rest is required and what intensity of game is possible. So leave the decision to the doctor. Don't take any decision by yourself. What are the during and post things to be done when a child gets hit on the testicles? Oh, yes, this is very important. A hit on the testicles is dangerous. It has immediate problems and long-term problems. Immediate problems, it can severely affect the heart rate. It's a very sensitive area. The person can suddenly collapse with a very low heart rate. This is a reflex response to a hit on the testicles. The person has to be kept on the ground, put in the recovery position, and if required, shifted to the hospital immediately because if there is no first aid for a hit on the testicles. And the second, the long-term problem is once the testicles are crushed, that could be bleeding into the testicles or the surrounding part of the testicles. So, whatever be the reason or whatever be the intensity of the hit on the testicles, the person goes to hospital. The only question is whether the person goes to the hospital instantly or later. If the person has collapsed, the person goes instantly. The person looks okay but is having pain. The parents have to be informed and they will take the person to hospital. There are complications can arise. There could be swelling inside the testicle, could be bleeding. They have to be actually handled very carefully. For muscle swelling, is it good for icing or hot water therapy? For the first 24 to 48 hours, icing is important. After that, you can try hot water. How can stop bullying and protect children in school? You need to have a school counselor. Bullying comes from sometimes very physically active children who are not given the opportunity to play. They have bounds of energy. You take the people who are bullying, you find that they are very good in activities, but they are not given the opportunities to play. So give the bullies very tough games, very tough skills, and they probably turn out to become very good students in school. What is the muscle school and playground? Sorry, I do not understand the question. For muscle swelling, is it good to do icing? Repeat it. Is it compulsory to have medical history of the child with the school administration? Yes, it's very, very important. Person having fits or asthma or having diabetes, the school authorities and teachers have the right to know. Because a collapse occurring on the ground or in a classroom should be appropriately handled. If a diabetic student who is collapsing, sometimes may require a little bit of sugar. So that teacher must know. So a medical history is very important. So take an undertaking from the parent about their medical history. Can you brief us if a student falls on the head while playing, what type of first aid should be provided? When a person falls on the head, the person suppose is unconscious, check for breathing and heart rate, and then put him in the recovery position and call for an ambulance or take the person, child, in a car to the hospital. Because a head injury has to be evaluated because the damage can occur instantly or immediately or later. Even for 24 hours, the complications can keep on occurring. If the person is unconscious, the person has to be rushed immediately. The person's unconsciousness indicates a serious injury. Whatever exercise should be given to the student to avoid injuries, nothing is as important as a good warm-up and a cool-down. Warm-up should be very thoroughly administered, but don't make them completely tired by the warm-up. Stretching exercises are very important. How many hours to take rest? I would suggest for a child, because we are all teachers, talk about children primarily, they should take about 8 hours of rest. For if CPR process is not working, CPR is only a process which will keep the heart pumping artificially and pushing blood to the brain. It cannot continue endlessly. What is expected is a CPR provider is taken over, is replaced by a full ambulance team. So before starting a CPR, another person must rush to the floor. The CPR is only for a few minutes, and this has to be taken over. The management has to be taken over by a medical team. Explain difference between contusion and sprain. Contusion is a crush injury. Suppose when I'm hammering a nail, I hit on the nail, hit on my fingernail. That is a contusion, it's a crush. A cricket ball hits the thigh without a thigh pad. That is contusion. What is a strain? Strain is a break in the fibers of the muscle or the ligament. You can see this. You can see the end of my mask. These are all threads. Similarly, muscles are also made up of threads, and if you break something, this is a strain. You find a breakage or overstretching, that is a strain. But next question, procedure of giving ice and hot application of injury of this. Ice, the first 48 hours you can use ice. After that, the ice is not really required. After that, you can try hot applications. What we suggest for hamstring pull when a child is running and he gets it. Press ice compression. You can use stop playing. Let the child stop playing. Give ice. Ice always must be ice cubes must be covered with a cloth. Never apply ice cubes directly onto the skin. You have to apply the ice by covering it with a cloth or with a handkerchief of the child or even some bandage cloth. And then stop playing. Give a compression bandage, and the person has to be taken to the hospital either by the parent or by the school. Which fomentation will you give for a joint swelling after an injury? No fomentation. Fomentation usually means hot fomentation. No, it's only cool ice that is recommended. How should the physical education period immediately after the lunch break? Unfortunately, that is a very wrong time to have a physical education class. Number one, it is very hot. Number two, the food has just started to digest. And so the blood will be diverted to the intestines. So can you please talk to the school management and try to shift it at least 1 hour after the lunch? Can after severe injury, can a person play further individual combat games? You cannot take a decision on that. Even a doctor would be finding it difficult to take a decision. Don't take a decision. The best decision you can take, which will avoid all sort of legal tangles, is to stop the child from playing. And then take the person for adequate care. Fainted in the field, first aid glucose to be given or not? No. Unless the person is a diabetic, don't give glucose. The person who has fainted could be due to heat, could be due to overexertion, could be due to some heart disease, or could be due to some head injury. So you have to tackle accordingly, as I told you in the first slides. Like dislocation of shoulder injury, nothing to be done. Take the person to the hospital. Let the shoulder remain dislocated. Don't try to reduce it. Many times girls get fainted and lost consciousness. Call us sports teachers for first aid. As the girls lost consciousness, we don't know the risk. Okay, the person is unconscious, sprinkle water on their faces, try to wake them up and put them in the recovery position. That is the best thing. If they are conscious, they can drink water, they are asking for water, they give. Don't give onion, don't squeeze onion into their noses. You just sprinkle water. The body must be sometimes overheated. Loosen their tie, open their collar button, loosen the tie, let their body cool down. Don't crowd around. Let there be ventilation in the room. Importance of conditioning and conditioning training. I don't need to explain all that. Conditioning, of course, prepares them to prevent injuries. What will be given when children feel dehydrated? Water is the best drink. Don't give any soft drinks. Do not give fruit juices. Water is the best thing. What is the first state for low back injury? I can't give you an answer like that. Sorry. The person goes to hospital. That's the first state. How will you identify that it is a ligament injury or a muscular injury, especially at the ankle area? Around the ankle, it is usually ligaments only that are present. So it's usually a ligament injury, but it also means it could be a bone injury. The ligament is attached to bone, and the bone pieces can come off with the ligament. So you cannot say whether it's a ligament injury or a bone injury. The person has to be X-rayed. The student is a good athlete, but he has given some automatic problems, and how much we take risk. Get the medical certificate. Talk to the parents. Talk and keep it confidential, of course. Keep it confidential. Do not publicize the child's problem amongst the other teachers unless they are required to know, or with the other students. Talk to the parents confidentially. Is it RICE or RICER? There are different combinations. Sometimes you can have PRICE, protection, rest, ice, compression, elevation. So it's of course an acronym to make you remember. Can we have a more detailed session concerning some of this? Yeah, I think we're running out of time. I'll stop this session now. I thank Dr. Burul and the other organizers for this session.
Sir,
Thank you very much.
Sir, just one question. Just one question. There's one question that is asked. I feel this is quite common and quite practical also. He asks, why the child or players in the ground got hit in the testicle. That is quite common during sports situation. Got hit on the testicle. What should be the action, the immediate action and the post action that a physical education teachers can take?
For a hit on the testicles.
Yeah, hit on the testicle.
I've already addressed the question. I can repeat the answer. See, testicles, when the testicles are hit, there are immediate dangers and long-term problems. The immediate danger is that the testicle is a very sensitive organ and can immediately affect the heart rate. The person can suddenly have a drop in heart rate and person can faint. So it is a very painful area. This is one of the most painful areas of the body. So a hit in the testicle, if the person collapses, the person has to be checked for his pulse, whether is breathing, and he has to be put in the recovery position and wait until he recovers or rush the person to hospital. That is the immediate thing. If this has not happened, if he's got a hit on the testicle and he has not collapsed, only thing is having pain, this person should go to hospital after the parents are informed. The parents should be informed because there can be bleeding in the testicles, there can be swelling in the testicles, that sometimes the testicles can get twisted. So this have to be actually diagnosed and then managed, because long-term problem of testis injury, which is not managed, could even lead to permanent damage to the testicles, and that is going to be a very important harm that happen to that. So long-term things have been prevented only by a medical checkup, which can be planned. Of course, the parent will be told that he's got a hit on the genitals. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to take the person to the doctor immediately, or should we wait for you to come? So, but suppose the person collapses, this is a medical emergency. You keep him in the recovery position, and if he is not recovering, the person goes to the hospital immediately.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a very fruitful discussion we had today morning. And once again, it was indeed a very meaningful, valuable, and a practical information, especially coming from someone who has one of the most reliable sports medicine experts we have in the country, a medical practitioner, and is also currently a medical officer in Sport Authority of India, Lakshmibai National College of Physical Education, Trivandrum. Once again, thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presentations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We'll end the session. The